if the non-tradable prices are reflecting the real exchange rate, what should happen is that the nominal exchange rate must move to equilibrate the situation. Otherwise, the whole economy will be under disequilibrium. That is why the nominal exchange rate is the automatic stabilizer. I emphasized this in 2010, 2011. I think my friend here, he remembers, Mheshimiwa, you remember that I argued that don't control the nominal exchange rate because it's the automatic stabilizer. It's the nationwide relative price. So the moment we control that, then it means that the non-tradable prices will push misalignment. Even the IMF and the World Bank mentioned some years back that the exchange rate was misaligned. That's also what the governor of the central bank a few weeks back actually said. It's a statement of fact that that was true. So what has happened? It is the process of adjustment. The automatic stabilizer must move so that it equilibrates the whole thing. We are paying for past mistakes. And that is where we are. So, because we created a distortion, that distortion can only be corrected by movement of the relative price. And that means that we reprice so many things, we suffer. We suffer because even the nominal debt is actually ballooned because of the pure effect. In fact, our computation with some of the people who are showing me some data, they were showing that actually, even if you didn't borrow a cent, our external debt would have increased by 24%. Just imagine that sheer impact. Of course, we cannot now, we have to do a lot of work to disentangle what happened because of the US or the developed world tightening their monetary policy and rising interest rates, and what happens to the others. But we can even show some numbers. For example, the current supplementary one shows that the deficit has increased by almost 0.9%. 0.9%. This is purely interest rate cost on debt. And that's why we have moved from our target 4.2% of GDP to about...
That would be how much in absolute figures?
It's about 145 billion. 145 billion shillings, absolute figure.
That 0.9 or 9%?
0.9.
0.9.
0.9%.
0.9, an equivalent of 145 billion.
Yes.
On account of exchange
on account of just interest rate, the exchange rate movement and interest rate cost. You can imagine how much we are exposed. It is a policy choice that we made that we have to have a floating exchange rate, but it's also a policy choice that we make. We sustain that policy space. It's a policy that is good for everyone, but we have to make sure that we don't control it for our benefit, because in the short term, it may look nice, but in the long term, we have to pay the price.
Said you moved from 4.2 as a 5.2.
I still think that we should allow Prof.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to continue on the topic. He said we moved from...
We have moved from about 4.4. It was about 4.4 to add 0.9. It's giving us like 5.4.
Okay.
We are still trying to see how much we can cut. That's why the supplementary, to make sure that we remain at 5.2% of fiscal deficit. I know somebody talked about fiscal deficit, but even the example that was given by Biro Kero said we had moved to 9% in terms of deficit. Now, 9% accumulation of deficit, it means that you are working like there are no budget constraints. Abraham was talking about that. We used to model behavior, and the first thing is to say there is no Ponzi game. This in Kenya we talk about the pyramid. When we model government behavior, we start by saying there are budget constraints, no Ponzi games, because you cannot have unlimited borrowing. You have to have. But now, when we moved from about what did you say, Biro? From is it 4% to about 4.2% to about 9%, you can see that something has to give way. Anyway, I'll come back to that a little bit. Second, of course, when the real exchange rate is misaligned, it affects everything else. It affects the performance in terms of our manufacturing sector. It affects the performance of our trade sector, and you find us in current account deficit is rising. So then again, nominal exchange rate must depreciate to equilibrate the process. You find that FDI, that is foreign direct investment, is not coming into the market. In fact, I was looking at the data from 2021, 2022, it was 0. So this outcome, it implies that for the economy to return back to stability and it means that the nominal exchange rate has to adjust and it depreciates so fast. But I cannot call it a free fall. That is not a good. There is a policy. It cannot be a free fall. It is actually adjusting to the magnitude of misalignment. Fourth, we do know that we also have to tighten monetary policy because you are faced by supply side shocks and you are faced by scarcity value, and you have to mimic also what is happening to